I was returning from a business trip and had spent 8 hours on the road, with 6 left to go. The freeway had ended, and I was snaking through a wooded 2-lane highway somewhere in the West Virginia hills. I didn't like it. It was remote, and there weren't many cars on the road. It was near dusk, and I knew I'd have to stop for the night soon. The twisty, hilly roads were bad enough during the day. I didn't even want to consider driving them at night. I hoped there would be a decent hotel nearby. I'd rather sleep in my car than in the ratty motels I'd mostly seen so far. The woods abruptly ended as I drove into a small town. It had seen better days. The buildings were sagging, with chipped paint and rusty signs out front. One person slowly walked down the sidewalk, lugging a bag of groceries. Nobody else was around. It was almost unnaturally still. I saw a sign for a hotel ahead. I didn't want to stop here, but dusk had arrived, and there was no guarantee the next town would be any better. Gritting my teeth, I turned at the sign, hoping that Pine Hotel wouldn't be a dive. I followed the narrow lane through the woods, where it ended in the hotel's parking lot. I felt relieved when I saw the building. It looked pretty respectable, although a bit old, like something built in the 1970s. There were a few other cars in the lot of 1980s vintage. I wasn't surprised a hotel off the beaten track wasn't busy. I carried my suitcase inside to check in. A woman with poofy hair was behind the desk, wearing an outfit that reminded me of an 80s airline stewardess. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked cheerily. "I just need a room for one night," I said. "Of course, sir." I checked in and she handed me a key. "You don't see these much anymore," I said. She looked at me in a strange way and then laughed. "I don't know what else we'd have," she said. I thought that was an odd thing to say, but I shrugged, thanked her, and went up to my room. There were some people down the hallway talking, but besides that, the hotel was quiet. I'd already had dinner, so I decided to watch television before going to bed. I tried fiddling with the ancient set, but I only got static. I'd brought a book, so I decided to read a little and go to sleep early. I wanted to get on the road as soon as possible in the morning. I was ready for this trip to be over. I woke the next morning to the sound of birds chirping and fluttering their wings. My eyes were still closed, and I thought they sounded awfully close by, almost right above me. I heard the fluttering sound again, this time right near my face. I opened my eyes, and sure enough, there was a bird in the room, flying back and forth. How the heck had it gotten in, I wondered. I was sure the window hadn't been open. I sat up and realized something was wrong. The room was in shambles. Not as if someone had ransacked it, but as if it hadn't been touched in years. The wallpaper was peeling and covered in mold. Part of the ceiling had caved in, and ivy was growing through the broken window. There was not a sound besides the birds. What the hell was going on? I jumped out of bed. My suitcase was where I had left it on the floor, and looked the same as usual. I pushed open the door, rotting and falling off its hinges, and looked into the hallway. It was dim, the only light coming from a window at the far end. Wires hung from the ceiling, and I could make out some illegible graffiti on the door across from me. It was like a tomb. I rushed back into my room and looked out the window into the parking lot. My car was there in perfect condition, but surrounded by cracked tarmac, weeds, plastic bottles, and smashed cans. I could feel my heart beating. I didn't know what was going on, but I wanted to get out of there. Feeling creeped out and confused, I grabbed my suitcase and bolted out of the room. I ran down the murky hallway, stumbled down the stairs, and charged across the parking lot to my car. Slamming the door, I leaned back against the seat, catching my breath. At least the car hadn't changed. I turned the key and was relieved that it started right away. Turning towards the lane, I put the pedal to the metal. It wasn't until I had driven out of town that I realized I was still in my pajamas. Once I was out of the mountains and comfortably on a road among strip malls and fast food outlets, I pulled over and took out my phone. I had to look up the Pine Hotel online. There had to be some explanation. I went to Google and typed Pine Hotel, West Virginia in the search bar. The only thing I could find was a short thread. Lucky Duck 2. I remember when I was a kid staying in a hotel called Pine Hotel in West Virginia when we were going to the beach. Is that still around? I can't find anything on it online. Marty Q. Oh yeah, I stayed there too, but it closed in 1988.